Good afternoon and welcome into the Sports Center of Connecticut as we're all set for Game 2 of this two-game set between the St. Thomas Tommies and your Post-University Eagles. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Join alongside our production crew of Kristen Brown, Jarrett Michaels, and our entire Post-University graduate assistant staff. My name is Max Stapleton, and we're thrilled to be taking you through today's action. Well, yesterday's game didn't necessarily go as planned for the home squad, and if you have a bit of deja vu, well, you wouldn't be the only one. St. Thomas came into Shelton and dominated by a final score of 7-0 yesterday, the same exact final score as when these two teams played last year to open up the season over in St. Paul, Minnesota. 6 different Tommies got a puck in the back of the net yesterday, and they absolutely dominated puck possession and other offensive stats throughout the entire contest. St. Thomas outshot Post-University 56-5 in yesterday's affair, and really with as much time as they spent in the offensive zone, star netminder Hannah Saunders didn't have much of a chance in between the pipes. As aforementioned, St. Thomas had 6 different skaters tally a goal yesterday, but they also had 7 different skaters end up with multiple points in the game. Both Riley Bartz, who had 2 goals, and Ella Berger finished the day with 3 points, and you got to believe that St. Thomas is going to try to keep up their all-around offensive production, especially amongst their top lines, if they're going to follow up with a Game 2 victory today. To round it all out, Julia Minotti, who pitched a shutout in yesterday's game, her first as a St. Thomas Tommy, is back in the net for the visitors today. And meanwhile, it'll be Devin Amundsen who gets the start in between the pipes for Post-University at home. She looked good coming in relief of Hannah Saunders in the third period yesterday. Did allow a goal, but overall looked pretty solid in net. We'll see how she can do today. So don't go anywhere as we have lineups, goalie matchups, the national anthem, and of course the puck drop on Game 2 of this WCHA Newha cross-conference battle as you're watching Post-University Hockey. Welcome back into the Sports Center of Connecticut as we're just about set for the puck drop of Game 2 of this two-game set between the St. Thomas Tommies and your Post University Eagles. So let's give you the starting goaltender matchup for today. For the visitors, it's the same goaltender as yesterday. Pitched a shutout in her St. Thomas debut. It's Julia Minotti, the transfer over from Clarkson University. Had a great season over at Clarkson last year. As we pull up her numbers, had 18 games played, 16 game starts, a 91.5 save percentage, and a 167 goals against average. Meanwhile, for the home squad, it's going to be Devin Amundsen making her first start this season. Came in relief of Hannah Saunders yesterday in the third period. In 4 games last year, she had a 509 goals against average and an 86.5% save percentage, a 1-3-0 record. And, Devin Amundsen expecting to be tested today, to say the least, especially after yesterday's matchup where St. Thomas outshot Post University 56-5 throughout 3 periods of play. Is a pretty miraculous number. So let's give you the starting lineups for today. For the visitors, it's the top line forwards and defense pairings today. It's Lindemann, Bartz, and Brown, your forward grouping, followed by the Gosdick twins, Juliana and Janessa, on the defensive front. Meanwhile, for the Eagles today, it'll be Peyton Tully, Maddie Noonan, and Selena McCavic. A little bit of a shift in lines from first-year head coach Brandon Brown from yesterday to today. Tallulah Cameron, the true freshman, and Emma Hine, a couple of new faces as your top-line defensive pairing for Post University, trying to keep a clear set of ice for Devin Amundsen in net in between the pipes. And it looks like we're almost set to go. Riley Bartz in the face-off circle, Maddie Noonan in there as well. The referees for today's contest, John Caranis, Matt Lowe, linesman Andrew Stribling, and J.J. Birdall. Birdall drops the puck, St. Thomas wins it, and we're underway. Thanks so much for joining us here on Post University Women's Hockey. Post looking to bounce back from a tough 7-0 defeat in their opening game of the season. Meanwhile, St. Thomas just looking to continue the party from yesterday's affair. Immediately, Post able to clear their defensive zone, so the Tommies will have to reset things. It's Janessa Gosdick sending it up the ice from Madison Brown, but immediately gets cut off by the true freshman Tallulah Cameron. And now Post trying to break out of their own defensive end. Already a little bit better of a start for the Eagles, although not saying too much. Yesterday, you saw sustained offensive possession front to back from St. Thomas, and really not a whole lot of it from Post, as McCavic gets the first shot on goal for Post University today. A little bit of an early test for Julia Minotti, a bouncing puck, but she easily stopped it aside, and St. Thomas goes right to left on your screens. Man, Chloe Barine, she takes a shot, stopped aside easily by Devin Amundsen, and it trickles back to the boards. Housey alongside the near boards, finds Berger. Berger getting harassed by Callie Peterson, although St. Thomas still has possession, and Berger once again with it. Swings it behind the net all the way into the far corner where Tristan Curry will pick it up, and she's able to clear it all the way down. No icing is going to be called here, as they're saying that, I believe it's Ella Housey got her stick on it. St. Thomas back in their own defensive zone. Post trying to go heavy on the forecheck, which we didn't get to see a whole lot of yesterday as well. It was such a strength for them throughout New Hop play last season. We'll see if they can really liven up that forecheck today. Nora Sauer in that far corner lost possession of the puck where Jody Rose going to take over, trying to find Georgia Stevens, but the Eagles turn it over. Sauer once again with the puck, makes a move around Karis Kell, and now swings it back to Haley Maxwell. Maxwell just decides to take the smart play and dump the puck in deep. Nora Sauer to pick it back up, but Callie Peterson right on her tail. Meanwhile, this is Kira Parker dancing around, tries the shot, didn't quite hit the net. Maxwell picks up the rebound. Jody Rose trying to take it away from her. This forecheck for St. Thomas did have a lot of opportunities yesterday, and it really succeeded in a whole lot of just different areas of the ice. And so far today, it looks like it's a similar story. Sajovic brought it back into the offensive zone. Callie Peterson tries to handle the puck, but you see 2 St. Thomas Tommies back behind the net playing defense. Just not easy to break out of your own defensive zone when you're getting harassed like that if you're Post. 17:25 left to go in this first period. Not a whole lot of action to talk about on either side. It's a bit of a feeling out process here to kick off game 2. Callie Rice gets the long up ice pass with a head of steam into the offensive zone, but loses the handle on it. Leaves it for Tegan Kuhlenkamp. She dances around near that left slot. Back behind the net it goes. This is Sadie Lindsay now, back up towards the blue line. Gosdick slaps the shot, but that one gets blocked. Nice play by Riley Patfield to get her body in front of it. Kuhlenkamp once again with the puck, looking for a lane to pass it to. Getting harassed up top by Anna Bernaire. Kuhlenkamp does take a shot, but it gets deflected up into the netting. And we'll have our first stoppage here of the first period with 16:45 to go. Boy, not a whole lot of shots on goal, but a lot of offensive possession here for St. Thomas early in this first period. Actually, shots on goal totals are even between these two sides at 1 apiece. So far, there's only been one faceoff. The second of the game looks like it's going to go Post's way. However, St. Thomas is able to retain possession. Fight for the puck back behind the net. Devin Amundsen ends up going St. Thomas's way. And boy, a good pass there, but unable to handle it was Riley Bard. She looked like she had a wide open net to shoot at. Jet Devlin coming the other way for the Eagles now, going up one against the world and just shoots it into a couple of Tommies while the rest of her teammates get a change. Trying to go heavy on the forecheck, keep possession in the offensive zone, and a smart shot there from Tallulah Cameron forces Minotti to make the save. Back through neutral ice now, and with a head of steam, Madison Brown trying to get past an Eagles defender. She almost does, but a good play by Tallulah Cameron. However, the hand gets raised, and we're going to have a power play coming up for St. Thomas. It's going to be a hooking on Tallulah Cameron as the Eagles touch up, and for the first time today, St. Thomas will go up on the woman advantage. Yesterday's game, St. Thomas, they were pretty good on the power play. Definitely an area that you assume Bethany Browson and company want to improve in heading into this season. They finished last in the WCHA last year in terms of their power play percentage. Meanwhile, yesterday they went 2 for 4 in that category. Got a little bit of a stoppage here, waiting for the official ruling to come up on the scoreboard. Penalty does get assessed to Tallulah Cameron for the Eagles. It's a hooking penalty at 15:57. Looks like the 5 going to be out there for St. Thomas. It's Chloe Barine, Ella Berger, Kara Sajovic, and then the Gosdick twins, Juliana and Janessa on the back end. Meanwhile, for Post University, it's going to be Selena McKavikis, Lily Zoner. Boy, Zoner really impressed as a true freshman yesterday. Maddie Newman and Karis Kale, the 4 on the penalty kill. St. Thomas wins the offensive faceoff. It's Gosdick up at the top of the key. Hands it off for Berger, who gives it back to Juliana. She fires away, deflects a couple of times, and Sajek just deflected that one wide of the netting. Amundsen not forced to make a save. St. Thomas handles the rebound. Goes back to Berger. She gives it up behind her net for Sajovic. Pass into the slot to nobody. It clears the defensive zone, and that's going to allow some time to tick off on this woman advantage for the Tommies. Try a long up ice pass. It goes straight through all of the Tommies, all of the Eagles, and right into the padding of Devin Amundsen. An easy save for her. And there's 1:26 left to go on the power play. In terms of the power play yesterday, 2 goals for St. Thomas. Riley Bartz really excelled. So did Chloe Barine, although Barine didn't necessarily get the goal numbers, but you just saw her everywhere, all over the ice. Doesn't have to be on the ice right now, but you know that those two, whenever they're on there with a woman advantage, they're going to be dangerous. Meanwhile, it's Skugman. Finds Lindsay in this near slot. Back to Skugman. Skugman trying to dance around Jody Rose. Sends it down low for Lindsay once again, who couldn't get a clean handle on it, but Nora Sowers right there to pick her up. And now Kira Parker. Good pass into the slot, but once again, not the best handle on it for Haley Maxwell. Just a minute left to go on this woman advantage for St. Thomas. Good play here. Lindsay looking for space to find it to. Gives it to Skugman, who takes the shot, deflects a couple of times, and Amundsen makes the save. Boy, a couple of great saves from Devin Amundsen early in this first period. And there's a rebound chance, a wraparound, they score! Sadie Lindsay gets the tally, and on the power play, it's 1-0 St. Thomas. For Sadie Lindsay, her first goal of the year, her second point of the season. And just like yesterday, it's St. Thomas getting on the board early, taking a 1-0 lead. We'll see if the Eagles can answer back here. Never easy, and that was a long, sustained power play in the offensive zone. Good job by Sadie Lindsay, was collecting a loose rebound and just saw an opportunity on the wraparound and snuck it by Devin Amundsen. See what the official assist numbers come in like. Meanwhile, on the other end of the ice, back to even strength. And how about this St. Thomas power play so far this year? Power play that finished last in the WCHA last season, now 3 for 5 to kick off this 2025-2026 campaign. Ilsa Lindenman through neutral ice. Getting handled by Callie Peterson, one of the new faces on this Eagles squad. Now Mikavickas takes over, clears the defensive zone, sends it in deep where Courtney Little's going to pick it up. Little was a healthy scratch yesterday, I should say. She's playing as the extra skater defensively today for St. Thomas. So first time we've gotten to see her in her action. Eagles trying to get the puck into the offensive zone, but really good neutralized defense from St. Thomas here. Not much doing for posts. Selena Mikavickas trying to give it another attempt, but once again a good poke check, this time from Haley Maxwell. Puck goes all the way into the near corner of the defensive zone at Post University. Emma Hine picks it up, gives it to Maddie Noonan, and Noonan with a head of steam hands it to Mikavickas. Eagles enter onsides. Mikavickas takes the shot, gloved down by Julia Minotti, and she'll have to freeze ice with 13:13 to go in this first. That top line for Post University, Peyton Tully, Maddie Noonan, and Selena Mikavickas showing some good offensive presence. You know that first-year coach Brandon Brown's really going to rely on that line, especially in Noonan and Mikavickas, the two upperclassmen in that forward grouping. Meanwhile, Post with a good opportunity. The puck loose out in front of the net. A couple of saves here from Minotti, and she has to cover it up. Boy, Minotti getting tested, her hardest test in either of these two games. She stands on her head for truly the first time with 13 minutes left in the first. St. Thomas wins their defensive zone face-off. Kaylin Munn trying to clear the defensive zone, and she does. Actually gets a good pass up the ice for Rice, but they're going to say that was offsides. Boy, Rice just had her skates enter the offensive zone before the puck. Don't see that too often when there's no teammates trailing you, but referee was right on, and we'll have the face-off at neutral ice. Got a false start on the face-off there. Boy, the refs have been quick to drop the puck so far today, and another quick one here. Post wins that face-off number, a category that you know that Brandon Brown's going to want to really improve in today. They got dominating the face-off numbers, and really all play starts from a face-off. If you can get the first possession, you get a huge advantage. Meanwhile, St. Thomas coming the other way. It's Tegan Kuhlenkamp with a lot of speed. Drifts right by Emma Hine. Now tries to leave it along the near boards, a race for it. Sadie Lindsay wins that race. St. Thomas content just to slide in a little bit deeper, but the Eagles pick it up, and it's Tallulah Cameron. Gives it away to Juliana Gosdick. Trying to find a lane. Actually, a shot. Devin Amundsen made the easy save that time from a tough angle, but once again, a good job keeping in from St. Thomas. Gosdick's pass couldn't quite find Kuhlenkamp, and finally, the Eagles able to clear it past the blue line. This is Janessa Gosdick now with the puck. Her pass gets intercepted by Emma Hine, the transfer over from Lindenwood College. Clears the ice. Eagles get a change in. And St. Thomas tries to re-enter the offensive zone. That time it was Callie Rice getting met by Lily Zoner, and we're going to have a hand pass here, so should be another neutral ice face-off just under halfway through this first. Shots on goal total, actually surprisingly, Post outshooting St. Thomas so far in this one, 3-2. Total shots 4-7, however, not on goal. And of course, the big power play advantage for St. Thomas, really the story here in this first period. St. Thomas still feels like they're dominating puck possession stats. Nora Sauer with the puck on her stick, looking for someone to give it off to at the blue line. Finds Janessa Gosdick, goes back down low to Parker. Parker gives it away. Looked like Mikavickas was the one to steal it away. Actually, that might be Alexia Tutino. I believe that is. Another new face who was a healthy scratch yesterday for the Eagles, making her first career start. Zoner behind the net of Devin Amundsen. It goes back to her here. Getting harassed on a heavy forecheck from Kira Parker and makes the smart play, just gives it off to Tutino. Right now, the Eagles just content to pass it back behind Amundsen, try to find a lane to break out in, but can't find much against this really good forecheck and neutralized defense of St. Thomas. Madison Brown, one of the star forwards for St. Thomas, into the offensive zone with a lot of steam, but her shot hit the side of the net. Now the puck back out towards the blue line. This is Skugman. Over to the other end, Lindemann. She takes the shot, fires it up and over the netting. It bounces all the way around the boards, back into the defensive zone of St. Thomas. Post going to get a fresh 5 out there. Jet Devlin trying to go heavy on the forecheck. So was Paige Piper, it looked like, for the Eagles, but St. Thomas easily evades it. They go into their offensive zone. A good pass here, a beautiful setup, and a great save from Devin Amundsen. Boy, not sure if Amundsen knew where it was when she saved it, but somehow got a piece of it. The shot coming off the stick of Riley Bartz. I believe it was Ilsa Lindemann as well who set it up with a great backhanded pass. 10:20 to go in this first period. Call it the third shot on goal of the period. For the Tommies, they win their offensive zone faceoff, and Ella Housey has it deflected a couple of times, and Amundsen kicks it aside. Boy, a couple of hard saves for Devin Amundsen in the last 30 seconds or so. Still a fight for the puck in that far corner. This is Berger with it, comes away, takes the shot, misses up and above the netting. Ella Housey collects the rebound, hands it off on the near boards to Barine, not cleanly. Ruby Mitchell, she collects it for the Eagles, tries to give it to Karis Kell. It goes farther around the boards than intended. Peyton Tully battling for it. We've officially reached over the halfway point here in this first period. I would definitely say by the eye test a closer first period than yesterday, but the only stat that matters is the one on the scoreboard. It's a 1-0 St. Thomas lead. Noonan gives it to McCavicus. Once again, Post having a really hard time just breaking out of their defensive zone. The forecheck for St. Thomas both yesterday and today. Impressive to say the least. A hard check defensively that time from St. Thomas. Peyton Tully got ran over in that far corner. Trying to take a look at the number. I believe it was Josie Skoogman who laid down the hard hit. Emma Hine with the puck, trying to go from left to right on your screen. Bang pass. Didn't quite work out that time as Kaylin Mumm will pick it up for the visitors. Mumm's pass, that one didn't work out. Jody Rose almost intercepted it, and now the battle for it looks like Sadie Lindsay's going to come away. 8:51 left to go. 1-0 St. Thomas lead. It was Sadie Lindsay who scored the goal for the Tommies, and here's an opportunity as Kuhlenkamp forces the turnover. Looking for her teammate, doesn't find it, takes the shot, and Amundsen saves it. Boy, Kuhlenkamp showing off the dangles that time around. Was able to get past a couple of Eagles defenders and put a shot right into the chest of Amundsen, forcing her to make the save. Faceoff's going to be to the right of Devin Amundsen. But it looks like we have a whistle, and I believe this is going to be our first media timeout of the day. It is 8:38 to go left in this first period, and St. Thomas with a 1-0 lead. Back in here in Shelton with 8:38 to go in this first period. St. Thomas are going to add on to their 1-0 lead, but it's Post who gets the defensive zone face-off win. Can't clear the defensive zone. Well, there they do finally, and it's going to be Callie Rice who picks it up and tries to reset things for the Tommies. Long up ice pass, maybe ill-intended that time as Kuhlenkamp couldn't get a good handle on it. And the other number 22, Tallulah Cameron, will pick it up for the Eagles. Sadie Lindsay takes over in the offensive zone for St. Thomas, dancing around, looking for a lane to pass to, and finds Kuhlenkamp. She dances around the blue line, gives it off to Mumm. Mumm into the slot. Boy, a good setup, but a better stick from Tallulah Cameron to just deflect the pass wide of the netting. It looked like I believe it was Sadie Lindsay had a wide open net to shoot at. Possibly would have been her second goal of the game. It's Kuhlenkamp once again. Gives it back for Mumm. Mumm moving to her right. Once again, Kuhlenkamp. We've said these two names a lot so far in this shift. And a good shot from Haley Maxwell. Doesn't get the deflection she was looking for. Right into the chest of Amundsen. And we have another frozen puck here. Boy, these long shifts for St. Thomas just put a whole lot of pressure on Post University and a lot of tired legs out there. You see every whistle. Post is trying to get a fresh 5 out there. Tie up on the faceoff, and it's going to go right back to Devin Amundsen. A little bit of collision afterwards, although not too much extracurriculars, and we'll have another face-off to the left of her. This was a stat in which Post really wants to improve him from yesterday. Struggled in that face-off category. Lost the face-off battle 48-14 in yesterday's affair. That long shot deflected wide of the net. Karis Kale picks up the rebound, tries to send it across the ice for Timmery Grom, and that pass actually does connect. Grom banks it into the offensive zone, but only temporarily. St. Thomas takes over. This is Janessa Gosdick with it. Passes the blue line, getting harassed by Zoner, sends one into the slot, but no one there to receive it. Meanwhile, Riley Patfield picks it up. She just dumps it in deep, going to get a change in as well as many other Eagles, but Kai Hyatt's there to chase after it defensively. Hyatt, one of the freshmen who impressed yesterday, making her NCAA Division I debut. I'd really say that Kai Hyatt and Lily Zoner were the two new faces that stood out the most, not including Emma Hine, who's a junior transfer. Oh, a hard collision that time. It was Callie Peterson running into Nora Sauer, and Sauer stood her up. And here comes St. Thomas. Uh-oh, Riley Bartz all alone with a head of steam. She makes the move, she scores! Riley Bartz with her third goal in the last 2 days, and she makes it 2-0 St. Thomas. How about the start of the season for Riley Bartz? Already her 4th point of this 2025-26 campaign, and once again, can't put any of the blame on Devin Amundsen or the Post goaltenders, as there's just not a whole lot of defense there. A one-on-none breakaway, and Riley Bartz faster than everybody on the ice with a beautiful couple of dekes to get it by Devin Amundsen. So all of a sudden, 2-0 here with 6:20 left to go in this first period. And we'll see if Post has an answer in them. Puck gets dropped down deep behind the netting of Julia Minotti. Oh, pass into the slot. Minotti actually had to poke check that one away, and the rebound goes into the far corner, and Tristan Curry picks it up. Hands it off to Ruby Mitchell, who gets body checked into the boards. Post going to try to get a quick change in here, as it looks like Jody Rose might be a little shaken up. St. Thomas going right to left, back in their offensive zone. Bart sends it into the slot, but no one there to shoot it. Meanwhile, St. Thomas in that far corner. Lily Zoner takes over for the Eagles. Under 6 minutes left to go here in the first. Mitchell tries to find Stevens. The pass couldn't connect, and St. Thomas goes the other way with it now. Bartz once again. Looked like she was trying to find a lane to shoot it at, but Zoner got her body in front of it. Rebound goes to Madison Brown. Brown shoots once again. This time it's Mitchell collecting the block. Kai Hyatt takes up the rebound, hands it over to the far side, and Timmery Grom gets a smart play. Actually shoots that one on net. This allows the Eagles to get a change in here, but a race for the puck, and Berger wins it, takes the tough angled shot, and Devin Amundsen is forced to make a save with her shoulder. Courtney Little collects the rebound, skating fast actually back behind the netting, leaves it for Barine. Barine looks like she's going to pass it back up towards the blue line, decides to take it herself to the blue line. Dancing around, takes the shot, gets blocked, rebound loose. And Ella Berger tries to fire it into the slot, but no one there. Riley Patfield breaks out of the defensive zone. Got to imagine that she's just going to dump it in deep, as that was a long shift for a lot of Eagles there. Once again, a pass. Chloe Boreen. Oh my God, look at the speed as she gets past, and Amundsen has to make the tough kick save. Jet Devlin turns it over in her own defensive zone. Whitney Horton with the puck on her stick. Sends it in deep. Looked like it might have been played with a high stick. Ref says no. Courtney Little has possession. Hands it back towards the top of the key. Juliana Gostick just dumps it in deep. Horton once again. Looking for someone to pass to as St. Thomas makes a change for some fresh legs. Gets it down low. A great pass down low. Beautiful shot, but a good save by Amundsen. Shot coming off the stick of Chloe Barine. Back up to the blue line. Janessa Gosdick with the long shot. Actually, it was a pass looking for Whitney Horton, but the pass just didn't go. Emma Hine picks it up. Smart decision there. Just chip it high up in the air, prevent any type of icing, and let your defensive crew get a fresh set of legs out there. Boy, it feels like the end of this period is going south quickly for Post University, as it has been all St. Thomas in the offensive zone. Callie Rice at neutral ice decides just to send it back in deeper defensively and try to reset things. This breakout play has been working for St. Thomas in these first couple of games. Post having a hard time applying their forecheck. But as I say that, they forced a turnover there. A shot on goal and a good save from Julia Minotti. The shot was off of Maddie Noonan, it looks like, the newly appointed captain of Post. 3:04 left to go in this first. And Post going to have an offensive zone face-off for one of the few times here in the last couple of days. It'll be to the left of Julia Minotti. Noonan tied up with Sajovic forward. Still no victor on the faceoff, and does look like it's going to go Post's way technically. We'll see if they can hang on to possession. Peyton Tully was fighting for it, and both Tully and a St. Thomas defender went down hard to the ice. Boy, look at the speed of Kira Parker racing by a couple of Eagles. Maddie Noonan able to pick it up only temporarily, and finally Peyton Tully does look like she'll retain possession. Here's Callie Peterson with it, one against the world, and smartly just sends it into the opposite corner. Gives you some time to try to collect the rebound, maybe force a turnover defensively. Instead, St. Thomas drifting through neutral ice. There is the turnover they were looking for, and Jody Rose has it. Nice play from the veteran forward for Post University. Once again, a good opportunity here. The backhanded shot deflected a couple of times, and I think Minotti had to make a few saves. St. Thomas trying with a counterattack instead, just going to dump it in deep and get a couple of fresh legs out there themselves. 2 minutes to go here in this first. A little bit of late life from Post in the last 45 seconds or so. Ilse Lindemann with the puck on her stick, sends it into the slot. A beautiful setup and a better save from Devin Amundsen. Boy, not an easy one. Looked like the puck kind of ate up Riley Bartz on the shot. And boy, Riley Bartz making her name and presence felt here in this two-game set in Connecticut. Already with 4 points to her name, and she was looking for her fifth right there. Excuse me, already with 5 points to her name, was looking for her sixth, I should say. Shot attempt that time from Josie Skugman gets deflected into the netting, and we'll have another face-off to the left of Devin Amundsen. Stat-wise here in this first period, well, a little bit, it has gotten more towards what we expected. 11 shots on goal for St. Thomas, 5 for Post University. It's 22 total shots as opposed to just 7 for the Eagles. It's another offensive possession here for St. Thomas to the near side for Housey. Ooh, pass into the far slot, didn't quite connect, but Lindemann still has possession. Battle for it back behind the net of Amundsen. Jody Rose picks it up, couldn't quite clear it. Housey kept it in. Emma Hine fighting for possession. Eventually gives it to Tristan Curry. Both of them tied up in that far corner, or really on the far boards over there. Still in the offensive zone of St. Thomas. 3 Tommies, 2 Eagles in there. It's Curry and Rose. Still fighting to see who's going to come away with it. And finally, the Tommies do. It's Riley Bartz with the puck on her stick. Tallulah Cameron trying to take it away. Madison Brown helping out her teammate. Finally, the Tommies do get it back behind the net of Amundsen. Jody Rosen there to help defensively. Well, Eagles doing a better job defensively of keeping the puck around the board, so to speak, not letting it get to the center of the ice. So it looked like there was going to be a possible penalty there, but no hand gets raised, and we'll play on. Emma Hine trying to break out. Bang pass up the ice intended for Tristan Curry, left a little bit long. No icing, as they say. St. Thomas tipped it. Now Curry heavy on the forecheck, couldn't force the turnover, and Housey takes over. Just about 20 seconds left in this first period. Perhaps one final push for St. Thomas. Not if Jody Rose has anything to say about it. Almost forces the turnover instead. It's Boreen past the blue line, looking for a lane, takes the shot, sneaks up on Amundsen, and Amundsen freezes it right under her right pad with 6.2 left in this first. Just another really good offensive output here for St. Thomas and their top couple of lines. Chloe Boreen on the second line really stood out yesterday. She got that latest shot on goal. Meanwhile, it's that top line of Riley Bartz, Madison Brown, and Ilsa Lindenman have just been so productive. Another shot on goal attempt towards the end of the period. Amundsen had to make the save, and that'll do it here in the first. St. Thomas picks up where they left off yesterday, getting 2 goals here in the first to take a 2-0 advantage. Don't go anywhere, as we'll be back for the middle period of play in just about 15 minutes as you're watching Post University Women's Hockey. Welcome back into the Sports Center of Connecticut as we're just about set for the second period of play between the St. Thomas Tommies and your Post University Eagles. And boy, St. Thomas picking up right where they left off from yesterday, scoring 2 in the first period thanks to goals from Riley Bartz as well as Sadie Lindsay. The Bartz goal unassisted on a one-on-none breakaway and her third goal in the last 2 days for the first-line center for St. Thomas. So thanks so much for joining us here on Post Athletics YouTube. St. Thomas out to a 2-0 lead. It has the puck in the offensive zone and tried to set up a good little tic-tac-toe slot pass there, but couldn't quite get it to connect. And Maddie Noonan going to take over for the Eagles here. Tries to hand it off to Peyton Tully, and Tully couldn't clear the zone. Puck goes back deep into the St. Thomas offensive zone. Ilsa Lindemann picks it up behind the net of Amundsen, who looked strong in the first period but was tested a whole bunch and can't expect much different here in the second. Goes over to Riley Bartz, the first star of this weekend and the first star of last night in the WCHA conference as a whole. Maddie Noonan forces the turnover in her own defensive zone. Can the Eagles finally clear their defensive zone? There's a battle for it, and they cannot, at least not immediately. Emma Hine picks it up, sends it to the other side for Tallulah Cameron. Gives it off to Tully, and Tully is finally able to get it past the blue line, although it did look like the Eagles were able to get a change in a little bit earlier, so already had some fresh legs out there. Back into the offensive zone goes St. Thomas, but immediately turned it over. And here's Emma Hine, the transfer from Lindenwood, one of the experienced defenders on this roster, who's able to clear it down. Josie Skoogman picks it up for St. Thomas, tries the long up-ice pass. It doesn't quite connect. Callie Peterson going to touch up for an icing with 18:27 left to go here in this second period. And I very well could be mistaken, but if I'm not, that might be the first icing on St. Thomas this entire weekend, which is very, very impressive in and of itself. Taking a look at some of the stats throughout this contest, 13-5, the shots on goal total favoring the visitors. St. Thomas 1 for 1 on the power plays, no opportunities for Post University so far with the woman advantage, and as well make it 14-6 after that latest face-off win for St. Thomas. Got a whistle here, and as I was saying, there is no power play opportunity. Looks like we might have one coming up, but instead it's going to go against the Eagles. It's going to go on Tristan Curry for a cross-checking penalty with 18:12 left to go in this second period. And for the second time today, we'll see St. Thomas with a woman advantage, already 1 for 1 on the power play, and on the weekend, 3 for 5 in that category. Sadie Lindsay ready to go in the face-off circle. St. Thomas already out there. Jody Rose, the woman in there for the Eagles, and Rose wins the face-off. We'll see if Post can retain possession. Carrasquel with the smart play just to slow it down behind the net of Amundsen, but she lost possession, turns it over. Here's Maxwell. Back to the near side, and behind the net it goes. Swings around the boards where Skoogman will pick it up. Skoogman finds Maxwell once again. Back into the slot. Pass intended for Skoogman. Just a little bit off the line there, and it goes all the way back towards the net of Julia Minotti. Well, Minotti, she's been tested as much as she was yesterday. The Eagles only had 5 shots on goal throughout all 3 periods yesterday. They already have 5 today. Sauer in the offensive zone. Drop pass for Skoogman. Skoogman just tries to keep it in for St. Thomas. Is able to do so, but Haley Maxwell having a tough time settling the puck down. And a really good play by the freshman Zoner to take over. Zoner with a head of steam gets past Skoogman and now has some help. Takes the shot. The rebound chance for Grom. Couldn't quite handle the rebound. It deflects off into the near corner, but if nothing else, a test on Julia Minotti and some time off this power play. St. Thomas trying to break back out. Here's Riley Bartz. Boy, how many times have we said her name this weekend? Dances around the net of Amundsen into that far slot. Back towards the center of the ice. Takes the shot. Saved by Devin Amundsen. Deflects wide, and we have a whistle. I believe the net might have become a bit dislodged there. So the stoppage was 16:53 to go. Devin Amundsen only had 4 games played last year. Was the backup to Hannah Saunders and Hallie Lawrence for that matter. But she's looked strong so far. The third period yesterday and the first period in 3 minutes and change here today. Once again, Post technically won that faceoff but wasn't able to hold on to possession for very long. Ella Housey at the top of the key gives it back to Mumm. Mumm circling around back to Housey. Housey couldn't get the clean handle on him. Mumm picks her teammate up, looks for a deflection. Madison Brown got her stick on it, but it deflected wide of the net. Housey once again, actually not able to keep it in the offensive zone. A nice heads-up play defensively. That's Riley Paffield, one of the extra skaters in yesterday's affair, in the full starting lineup today, and makes a good defensive play on the penalty kill with only 5 seconds left to go. Mumm dancing around, sends it towards the netting, but misses just wide right, and we're back to even strength. Out of the box goes Tristan Curry and makes St. Thomas 1 for 2 on the power play today. Still with offensive possession, driving towards the net, and a nice save by Devin Amundsen. Really good opportunity there for Madison Brown, stick handling her way right in front of the net. Ilsa Lindemann collected the rebound, gives it, looked like it was Cameron over there. Actually, Kuhlenkamp. And now Kuhlenkamp has on her stick once again, takes the shot. Boy, went off the shoulder of Amundsen, the rebound chance, and that one deflects wide. Callie Rice tries the pass across the ice, blocked that time by the freshman Tully. Bank pass to Tully, left just a little bit long, a battle for it right at the red line. We'll see who comes away with it. Looks like it's going to be St. Thomas's possession as Post just shoots it into deep and decides to get a fresh 5 out there. Kuhlenkamp once again leaves it for Sajovic. Sajovic leaves it into the slot. And the pass just offline there once again. Selena Mikavicus taking over. Mikavicus, one against the world, does have a little bit of help trailing her, but Maddie Noonan couldn't win the race for the puck. St. Thomas trying to get it out of their defensive end. They couldn't quite do so. Callie Rice fighting for the puck there a couple of times. Had a good poke check on Selena Mikavicus and ends up forcing the turnover. Kuhlenkamp, 1 against 2. Looking for some help. Decides to leave it for Sajovic, who takes the shot. Nice save by Devin Amundsen. The rebound chance deflects off an Eagles defender. Peyton Tully just decides to dump it in deep, and once again, Post with a platoon swap at 14:38 left to go in this middle period of play. St. Thomas once again with most of the offensive possession so far. Boy, beautiful move by Ella Berger. Was unable to leave the pass for her teammate, looking for Whitney Horton driving into the slot. Tallulah Cameron tries to control the rebound, send along the near boards where another Tommy will pick it up. Looked like Janessa Gosdick left it into the slot. Couldn't quite go. She gets the rebound herself, the backhand shot, and they score. It's Chloe Bereen with another goal, and St. Thomas makes it 3-0. For Chloe Bereen, her second goal of this series, her 3rd point overall. Another name that we've said a whole lot in these first couple of games, and she gets on the board once again just about 6 minutes into the second period. Boy, a beautiful play, dancing around the back of the net of Devin Amundsen, was looking for all types of lanes and ultimately just decided to take the backhanded shot. Looked like she wasn't even looking at the net necessarily. Ended up just getting it over that right shoulder. There's a long bouncing shot, easily stopped aside by Amundsen. Oh, and it looked like a trip up there. Hand gets raised, and we'll have the first power play coming up for the Eagles. So right after St. Thomas gets on the board to make it 3-0. We'll see Post University with the woman advantage for the first time today. Looks like it's going to be Whitney Horton with a tripping penalty going to the box at 13:54 here in the second. Horton didn't take any penalties yesterday. Overall in the game yesterday, Post, they went 0 for 3 on the power play. Didn't even get a shot on goal in any of their 3 woman advantage moments, so we'll see if they can do a little better today. This is Zoner with the puck. Sends it across the ice for Hine. Hine takes a shot, but it gets blocked. Good block that time by Janessa Gosdick. Battle for it in that far corner. It goes the Eagles' way. Maddie Noonan leaves it for Zoner. Zoner looking for a lane. Gives it back to Noonan. Noonan sends it into the slot. No one there to receive the pass. Madison Brown picks up the rebound. Tries to clear the zone. Couldn't do so yet, and finally they do. Post will have to reset on the power play here. Once again, first opportunity of the game for the Eagles with the woman advantage. Right in the middle of the pack last year on the power play in the Newhawk Conference. This is Emma Hine. Tries to send it to the far side. Does. Maddie Noonan with the shot. That one finds the net. Believe Minotti had to make the save. Selena Mikavicus dancing around back towards the blue line for Zoner. Eagles get a quick change in. Karis Kale now on the ice. Tristan Curry in there as well with the puck on her stick. Under a minute left to go on the power play. Curry at the near slot takes the shot. Good defensive play by Janessa Gosdick. Got her body in front of it and deflected wide of the net. Post able to keep it in the zone here. This is Mikavakis looking for Devlin. Pass just left a little bit behind her, and Sadie Lindsay forces the turnover. Decides to dump it down deep. Smart play for St. Thomas as the clock ticks down to 30 seconds. At the post woman advantage, almost a very costly turnover there, but instead Karis Kale picks it up, and the Eagles will reset once again. Lily Zone are able to save the Eagles from almost another turnover, but only temporarily. Sajovic does force it. Now going one against the world, but has a whole lot of speed. Tries to stop on a dime. Somehow ends up with possession and finds Ella Housey. But right now, just a woman down. St. Thomas doing the smart play and taking some time off the clock. That's going to do it on the power play for Post. Make them 0 for 1, but do believe they got a shot on goal in there. Now St. Thomas back to even strength. Looking to add on to their 3-0 lead. It's Riley Bartz in that far corner for Lindemann. Sends it back deep for Bartz. Bartz takes the shot, but I believe it hit a post body and never hit the net. Sadie Lindsay. Now Kaylin Mumm. Up dancing around the blue line. Was able to keep it onside somehow. Boy, an impressive play as Jet Devlin was harassing her. Now back behind the net of Devin Amundsen. Bad pass there. Georgia Stevens takes over. Smart play just to get it out of her defensive zone. It's never easy going up against anybody in the WCHA, and that has proven to be true here in Shelton, Connecticut for Post University. Not many opportunities against WCHA opponents, and despite their standing last year, St. Thomas looks like they're coming with vengeance this year. Still with possession in their offensive zone, although the Eagles trying to take over, and Jody Rose sends it up the ice. All the way down. Looks like it's going to be an icing, and it will. 10:44 left to go in this middle period of play. Let's take a look at some of the stats here in this second period. Shots on goal total, it's going to be 9-1 in favor of St. Thomas. Remember, it was 13-5 in the first, so St. Thomas extending in that category here in the second. Face-off wise, it's actually Post winning the face-off battle so far, 4-2 in this middle period of play. Well, make it 4-3 after the latest win for St. Thomas. Shot goes right into the back of her teammate. Haley Maxwell blocked Kira Parker. Puck goes around the net. Nora Sauer picks it up offensively, but getting thrown to the ground by an Eagle defender. And now Post looks to break out. Heavy on the forecheck is St. Thomas, and what a forecheck it is as they're able to keep the puck in their offensive zone. Boy, Zoner gets handled into the boards hard. 10:20 left to go in this middle period. And it looks like we're going to have a penalty coming up. Believe it's going to be on St. Thomas, or believe it's going to be on Post, I should say. Maybe a bit of retaliation. We'll see what the official call is. It's going to go on Jet Devlin. Didn't quite see the signal on the play, so don't know what the official call on the penalty, but you know for a fact it'll be another power play opportunity for St. Thomas. It'll be on the experienced forward, Jet Devlin, for Post. So far in this game, 1 for 2 with a man up is St. Thomas. They went 2 for 4 yesterday. And once again, an area that they look to improve on in the offseason. Looks like they're doing very well in that category so far in this 2025-26 campaign. It's the Gosdick twins out there defensively on the power play, as well as Chloe Barine, Ella Berger, and Sajovic, the forward grouping for St. Thomas. Ooh, a good move here. Good opportunity. The backhanded shot, and Chloe Barine finds the back of the net yet again. Boy, second goal of the period for Chloe Barine. It's another power play goal for St. Thomas, and it's 4-0 Tommies. Boy, this second line and top line for St. Thomas proving to be all the Eagles can handle here this weekend as Chloe Barine picks up her 4th point of this campaign, her second goal today. 9:45 left to go in this second period. Going to be ready for a neutralized faceoff. Looking to get the scoreboard settled out here. That's what's causing the delay. Still have a penalty up. And it looks like we're all set to go. The puck is dropped. The Eagles win the faceoff, and now down 4 goals. It's once again kind of back to that mentality of looking to just find some positives heading into next weekend's matchup. It doesn't get much easier for Post University coming up as they hit the road next week to take on RIT, which, although not a WCHA opponent, by no means easy. So these are a couple of really tough tests for Post University to kick off their campaign, looking to follow up on what was their best season in program history last year in terms of win total. Boy, costly turnover, at least it looks to be one, as Kuhlenkamp has the puck. She takes the shot but misses the net. I believe it just went wide. Callie Rice collects the rebound for St. Thomas. Sends it deep for Kuhlenkamp. Back to Rice. She takes a shot, and Amundsen gloves it down, freezes the puck with 8:57 left to go. That's going to take us to our media timeout here in the second period of play. Once again, 8:57 left to go, and it's 4-0. St. Thomas having fun here in Shelton. Back in here at the Sports Center of Connecticut, it's a 4-0 St. Thomas lead over the home squad Eagles, just trying to garner some momentum late in this second period as they have a defensive zone face-up, but it goes the Tommies' way. Haley Maxwell with the smart play just to dump it in deep, fight for the rebound over in the far corner. Emma Hine gets taken down to the ice. Puck's still loose over there. No one's coming away with it yet. It looks like Madison Brown does. There's another shot, but it misses the netting just wide and above. Madison Brown able to collect the rebound, sends it into the slot, and there's another goal for the Tommies. Continuing to pour it on as they make it 5-0. And how about Riley Bartz once again? Just an unbelievable day for Riley Bartz and an unbelievable weekend for one of the team leaders. Picks up her second goal today. And all of a sudden it's 5-0 St. Thomas. Boy, her third goal. Well, this two-game set. Devin Amundsen having a bit of a tough time so far this period, and the whistle gets blown. Looks like somebody was taken down to the ice, and we're going to have a power play coming up once again for St. Thomas. Going to be a tripping call here. We'll see who ends up going to the box. Looks like it's Riley Patfield making her way slowly over there. So once again today, St. Thomas will have another opportunity with the extra skater in what has been a very productive second period. Already 3 goals here in the second. And overall on the power play, well, they're 2 for 3 today. They were 2 for 4 yesterday. So my terrible math ability, that makes them 4 for 7 on the season. Boreen over to the other side. Boy, a beautiful setup on the play. Just couldn't finish it off. And that looked like it was Janessa Gosdick taking the shot. Now it's Juliana over at the top of the key. Finds her teammate Berger. Sends it down low into the slot. Looking for a deflection in Sajovic. Believe that one had to get saved by Amundsen. Now the wraparound try hit the side of the net. Puck loose over there. A battle for it. A couple of Tommies. And looks like only one Eagle in there. That's Karis Kale who was fighting for it. Meanwhile, Janessa Gosdick got the rebound, sends it to the near side for her sister, Juliana. Back to Janessa, the one-time shot. Ooh, looked like a good play set up once again, but it missed the netting up and above. Ella Berger dancing around, leaves it for her teammate, Boreen. Boreen back to Gosdick. Gosdick takes it right into the chest of Amundsen, who makes the save with 7:32 left to go and a minute Just over a minute, I should say, on the woman advantage. We've talked a lot about the offensive prowess for St. Thomas. We haven't really mentioned Julia Minotti too much, but man, she pitched a shutout yesterday, and she's halfway through today's game not allowing a goal. What a great start to her St. Thomas career in her first couple of games. Here's Post short-handed with a head of steam. Jody Rose looking for some help, takes the shot, but it misses just wide left of the netting. Meanwhile, looked like Peyton Tully had control of the rebound for a quick second. Haley Maxwell took it away, and now on the power play, St. Thomas looking to break out and reset. Slides it over to Lindsay, does Maxwell. Now Lindsay looking for a lane. Smartly just banks it behind the net of Amundsen. Jody Rose trying to pick it up for the Eagles. Battle for it over in the far end. The tall Lily Zoner in there for Post University. Boy, listed as 5'9", but I'm having a hard time believing that. She looks a bit taller, at least by the eye test. Skoogman finds Maxwell near the blue line, takes a wrist shot, misses wide. The rebound chance, boy, had a wide open net to shoot at. Did Sadie Lindsay, but couldn't finish the opportunity. She has it once again. Back over to Skoogman. 5 seconds left on the power play. The one-time opportunity, Amundsen didn't see it, but I believe it just missed the net, and we're back at even strength. So once again, makes St. Thomas 2 for 4 on the power play today. Their same total as yesterday, and 50% to open up their season. Boy, into the offensive zone, a breakaway opportunity for Riley Bartz. She takes the shot, and Amundsen makes the save. Boy, Amundsen with a beautiful stop there, sliding from left to right, preventing Riley Bartz from getting the hat trick here in game 2. Man, Devin Amundsen, to say she's been tested would be an understatement here today. Already faced 29 shots on goal. That would actually be the 30th of this game. And that one might have been her strongest so far today. Sophomore likely to back up Hannah Saunders for most of the season this year, but looking like she's going to be a more than capable backup in the opportunity she's gotten. Just under 6 minutes left to go in this second period. St. Thomas out to a 5-0 lead, looking to add on to it as they force the turnover here. A beautiful setup for Bartz once again, and Amundsen makes another tremendous save. St. Thomas still has possession. It looked like to be Ella Berger, but instead it's actually Courtney Little up at the blue line. She turned it over for a second, and now Jet Devlin takes over. Emma Hine, bank pass to Anna Bernaire. Haven't said her name a whole lot today. And it looked like St. Thomas is going to be whistled down for offsides. 5:21 to go here in this middle period of play. Boy, face-off totals. Looking at yesterday's matchup, St. Thomas dominated in that component. It was 48-14 throughout the game, but so far today, face-off-wise, it's 19-13, so Post doing a much better job in that category of at least getting the first opportunity on possessions, but still not finding a whole lot of opportunities in the offensive zone, so to speak. They send it around their defensive boards, do the Eagles, trying to just clear the defensive zone, and they do, but only temporarily here. Janessa Gostic has the puck. Bank passes it up the ice, intended for Madison Brown. Couldn't quite connect, but somehow St. Thomas almost ended up with possession, and they do. Back into the offensive zone they go. Boy, what a move from Madison Brown. Dancing, deking, trying to find her way, sends it into the slot, but the shot just couldn't get off the stick. I believe it was Jet Devlin getting in the way of that one. Over at the far boards near the blue line, a couple of Eagles, a couple of Tommies in there. Coming away with it, it's Lindemann. Though Eagles force a turnover. Kai Hyatt, one of the true freshmen, forces it defensively there. Now with a head of steam, dancing past the blue line. It's going to get whistled down for offsides. The Eagles touch it, and they do. Boy, a good play there. Kai Hyatt looked like she just left it a little bit too late, and that's kind of one of those freshman plays that I was able to talk to Brandon Brown with earlier in the week. Talked about these true freshmen. They're going to get their opportunities. There's a lot of them on this roster. There's a lot of new faces, and he's going to rely on them a few amount, but at the same time, going to expect some freshmen to make some mistakes, and right there, it looked like Kai Hyatt just left that one a little bit long and whistled down for offsides on one of the few offensive chances Post has gotten today. A little bit of extracurriculars there between Peyton Tully and Ella Berger on the face-off. 15-on-15 crime, but no whistle. And a long shot on goal. Actually, they're going to say that one got covered up. by Julia Minotti. Don't necessarily know that it was, maybe a preemptive whistle, but either way, 4:01 left in this middle period. Five out there for the Eagles. Noonan, McCavikis, and Tully, their top-line forward group, as well as Tallulah Cameron on the near side defensive and Emma Hine on the far side. Hine trying to force the poke check there. Actually, a beautiful stick lift from Emma Hine. Created a turnover, and now let's see if Post can do anything with it. Decide to dump it in deep. Chasing after it is Peyton Tully, but Berger's going to win that race. She leaves it for Mumm. Nice up by his pass. Boreen with a head of steam passes the blue line. Looking for a lane, dancing around. Finds that lane, takes the shot, and Amundsen makes the kick save. Rebound was loose for a second, and a smart heads-up play. Believe it was Georgia Stevens who cleared it down the ice. Boreen gets around Georgia Stevens that time with a beautiful deke, sends it up the ice for her teammate Berger. Boy, look at the puck movement here for St. Thomas, and Boreen tries to finish it off. Amundsen once again staying strong in between the pipes. They send it around the boards for Berger, trying it into the slot. Nothing quite going there. It looked like Whitney Horton was the one to receive the pass, but got it poke checked away. Berger forces the turnover in her own offensive zone. Nora Sauer to pick it up. Sends it around the boards where Sajovic will grab it. Sajovic leaves it for her teammate Skugman. Skugman fires away. Beautiful save from Devin Amundsen, sliding from left to right in the crease. And here's an opportunity for the Eagles. Dancing around, it's Tristan Curry all alone. She shoots, and a great save from Julia Minotti. Boy, a beautiful kick save, sending that one into the corner to keep her shutout alive. Coming the other way, this is Nora Sauer as she fends on the pass. Good defensive awareness from Lily Zoner, and Zoner takes over. Boy, here's some of that fun hockey action we were talking about. Back and forth go these two teams here in the second. Eagles trying to get it out of their defensive zone. No can do, as we've said many times over the last 48 hours. St. Thomas keeps it in. Kira Parker finds Lindsay. Lindsay driving towards the net, loses her footing, gets back up, but her shot gets blocked. And Jet Devlin takes it the other way. Boy, Devlin getting harassed. Coming towards the blue line, a penalty called here. It's going to be a cross-checking penalty, it looked like. No, a slashing penalty. And it's going to go on Kira Parker, it looks like. So only for the second time today, and near the end of this second period, Post will have a woman advantage on the power play. They're 0 for 1. Again, the official penalty, a slash on Kira Parker at 1:51 here in the second. Kira Parker didn't take any penalties yesterday, so yesterday and today combined, that's 6 penalties taken from St. Thomas, all by 6 different skaters. Typically speaking, a good sign in terms of no one's having too many things called against them if you're Bethany Brosnan and crew. Over to the far side, back up top, Karis Kell takes the long shot, deflects a couple of times, and Minotti gloves it down. Boy, Minotti had to fight through a bunch of traffic in her crease there, was able to find the puck and save it for St. Thomas. Second shot on goal during a power play today for Post University, and Brandon Brown electing to keep the same 5 out there. Jody Rose versus Riley Bartz in the faceoff circle, and Rose wins it for the second straight time. Kale looking for a lane, tried the shot. That one got blocked down by Ilsa Lindemann defensively. Riley Bartz looking to just take it up the ice herself, even short-handed. Not sure if that's the smartest play, especially when you're up by 5 goals. But either way, St. Thomas looking to now just waste some more time. Post looking to apply the forecheck. Stevens heading the forecheck currently. But a good cross-ice pass, almost connected to Ilsa Lindemann. Instead, it goes back behind the net of Amundsen with 1:12 left to go on the power play. Under a minute left to go in this middle period as well. Battle for it along the near boards. The Tommies come away with it. Up ice pass intended for Chloe Boreen, intercepted by Tristan Curry. Now Selena McCavikis in the offensive zone. Gives it to Curry. Curry takes the shot. Kick save into the corner by Minotti. Rebound goes all the way out of the defensive zone. Chloe Boreen, who has really shown off her wheels a few times here this weekend, sent it deep, or looked like she was going to have a play, but just decided to send it deep into her offensive zone. 25 seconds left to go in the period. Post enters the zone onsides. This looks to be Lily Zoner. Finds Emma Hine. Deflected a couple of times, but never quite hit the net. The shot off the stick of McCavikis that time. A good opportunity for Noonan as she takes it, and it's saved once again by Minotti. The rebound was loosed and cleared into the far corner. Minotti gets back to her feet with 7 seconds left to go in the period. One last one-timer for Hine. Gets blocked down by Chloe Barine. She clears it down the ice, and that'll do it here in the second period of play. 3 goals for St. Thomas sees them have a 5-0 lead here in the second. The goals, 2 of them coming off the stick of Chloe Barine. Boy, for her third so far this weekend. Meanwhile, it's Riley Bartz also getting her third of the weekend. And St. Thomas just continuing to have fun here in Shelton. Although we saw a little bit more live from post on that latest power play towards the end of the second. And we'll see if they can continue to keep it up here in the third. So don't go anywhere, as we'll be back in 15 minutes as you're watching Post University Women's Hockey. Welcome back to the Sports Center of Connecticut as we're just about 30 seconds away from this third and final period of play in this two-game weekend cross-conference set between the St. Thomas Tommies and your Post University Eagles. And man, St. Thomas out to a 5-0 lead as we enter this third period. 3 goals in the second, including 2 from Chloe Barine, and then the second of the game from Riley Bartz. That Bartz one assisted by Maddie Brown, Kaylin Mumm, and then the Chloe Barine goals assisted by Whitney Horton, Janessa Gosdick, and Ella Berger, respectively. We'll see what Brandon Brown decides to do and what to focus on. Certainly some improvements from game 1 to 2 for the Eagles, especially in the face-off department, but overall still just a long offensive possession and offensive domination game today for St. Thomas. Thanks so much for joining us on the Post Athletics YouTube channel. My name is Max Stapleton, joined alongside Kristen Brown, Jarrett Michaels, and everybody else here at the Post University Graduate Assistance Desk. We are so glad that you were able to join us. As there was an immediate whistle only 12 seconds into the period. Puck bounced into the netting, so we'll have a defensive zone face-off for Post. Lindemann going up against Jody Rose, and Jody Rose wins that one. Puck goes back behind the net of Devin Amundsen, who has looked strong here today and has to make a tough save that time, going up against Maddie Brown. The puck still loose out in the crease, and eventually Amundsen able to just dive on top of it and cover up. Boy, only 20-something seconds into this period, and already a couple of big action takes for St. Thomas. Same 5 remain out there on both sides. This time it's Riley Bartz in the face-off circle. And Bartz wins it against Jody Rose. However, Tristan Curry picks it up, isn't able to get out of the defensive zone. And St. Thomas takes over. Good cross-ice pass. Gosdick with the shot. Goes off the helmet of Amundsen. She didn't see where the rebound was. And somehow St. Thomas able to keep control of possession here in their offensive end. Bartz once again looking for the hat trick, but missed the net. Rebound goes back behind the netting once again. Maddie Brown trying to hold on to possession here. Getting harassed down low by Karis Kale. Puck finds the stick of Jody Rose. Rose, see how long she can hang on to it for. Tries to slide it forward to Tristan Curry and does. Curry finally gets it past the red line, decides just to chip it forward back behind the net of Julia Minotti. And St. Thomas will try to reset things, moving from right to left. Chloe Barine with a head of steam racing after that puck that was dumped in, and she wins the race. Tries to take a tough angled shot. I believe Devin Amundsen just poke checked that one clear of the crease. Back into this near corner for Ella Berger. Lily Zoner going up against her defensively. Now towards the blue line. Housey hands it to Skugman. Back down low for Berger. Berger dancing back towards the blue line. Getting harassed. Ruby Mitchell in there defensively. She finds Whitney Horton. Horton can't keep the handle on it. And right now, Post doing a good job keeping the puck near the boards, out of the center of the ice defensively, although I'm sure Brandon Brown would want to get it out of the defensive zone like right there. St. Thomas content just to dump it back in and get a fresh couple of legs out there. Not an entire platoon swap, but maybe 2 or 3 skaters get off the ice. That forecheck still alive and well for the Tommies as Nora Sauer tries to keep it in the offensive zone. Sajovic chasing after it, gets taken down hard into the boards. No hand gets raised. It looked all incidental there, and I think I agree with the no call. Goes into the far corner. Peyton Tully tries to collect. Leaves it for her teammate Devlin, who couldn't handle it cleanly. Finally, the Eagles able to get it out. Racing for the puck, Selena Mikavicus and Ella Housey. Looks like Housey's going to cut off Mikavicus and ultimately win the race, while Selena goes back to the bench to get a change in. Emma Hine just barely not able to keep it in, but she is able to force the turnover at neutral ice. Sends it in deep into the Eagles' offensive zone. Racing after it, Riley Patfield. Eagles with offensive possession. Jet Devlin tried a little bit of a blind cross-ice pass there to no avail. Puck goes all the way back down for an icing as Emma Hine touches up with 17:09 left to go. Once again, there hasn't really been a whole lot of icings that St. Thomas has committed throughout either yesterday or today. This, I believe, only the second today. So the Tommies not able to get a change. Eagles looks like they're not electing to change. And a faceoff will come to the right of Julia Minotti with just about 17 minutes left to go in this final period. Eagles win the faceoff, try the quick shot, but it goes wide into the near corner. Battle for it along the near board, stays in the offensive zone, but for how long is the key question. Trying to keep it in is Riley Patfield, unable to do so. Looked like Tim-Marie Grom was in there to help her out as well, but coming right to left go the Tommies. Decide just to dump and change here, and the Eagles will take over back behind their own net. This is Tallulah Cameron, one of these new faces to this post squad this year. Couldn't quite clear to the defensive zone, and now a 2-on-1 forming, gives it off to Rice. She takes the shot, save Amundsen, the rebound is loose. Puck is still loose out in the crease, and it gets cleared down into the lower corner. Boy, what a beautiful save from Amundsen yet again. Looked like St. Thomas had a great opportunity to make it 6-0. Instead, they'll just reset things at the top of their key. Tried a long shot at Haley Maxwell. Missed the netting a little bit wide. Now taking over behind her own net is Devlin. Eagles able to get it out of their own defensive end. They try to send a new 5 out there. Meanwhile, St. Thomas trying to catch the Eagles in a bit of a change. Kaylin Mumm just decides to dump it in deep. Callie Rice looking for a cross-ice pass, looking for a driving Riley Bartz, but it was deflected. I believe it was Tim-Marie Grom who intercepted that one. Once again, another pass gets intercepted, this time Tallulah Cameron getting in the way. And the Eagles look to take over, trying to break out of their defensive zone, but a good stick by Kaylin Mumm, one of the key defenders, experienced defenders for St. Thomas this season. Callie Rice looking for a shot, deflects off the skate of Callie Peterson. Now St. Thomas once again behind Amundsen's net. Riley Bartz once again tries it. I think it went off the padding of Amundsen that time around. And still St. Thomas able to collect what feels like every single loose rebound, as there's another one-time attempt from Callie Rice, easily gloved down from Amundsen with 15-14 left to go here in this third period. Taking a look at some of these third period stats, well, 6 shots on goal, only 4 minutes and 44 seconds into this period. Meanwhile, none for Post here in the third. Face-off wise, 2-2. And Post actually gains a 3-2 advantage after Jody Rose wins her latest. She's been pretty good today in the face-off circle, at least by the eye test. Take a look at the numbers during the latest whistle. Sajovic takes over. Has it on her stick once again near that far slot. Gives it to the blue line for Little. Little looks to leave it for Janessa Gosdick, but the pass was left just a little bit too long. Cleared the offensive zone of St. Thomas. Amundsen couldn't handle it cleanly behind her own net, and Sajovic has it on her stick. Georgia Stevens looks to clear the defensive zone, does so temporarily. The Tommies will have to touch up. Meanwhile, the Eagles really having a hard time just breaking out. This forecheck for St. Thomas has been relentless, to say the least. Courtney Little with a good job keeping in. Puck still kept in, and now Sajovic actually takes it out just to retain possession for St. Thomas. Good attempt there from Maddie Brown, but an easy save for Devin Amundsen as she kicks it over to the near boards. Janessa Gosdick collects, tries to shoot it back in deep, delayed offsides called, and once again St. Thomas just content to dump it in, touch up, and play a bit more of a defensive style game here in this third period of game 2. Rose couldn't quite face the 4 St. Thomas defender she was going up against, and Chloe Barine with a lot of speed into her offensive end of things. Sends it across the ice for Skugman, leaves it down low for Horton, and now Berger has it. Berger back to Barine. Barine looking towards the blue line, finds Juliana Gosdick, couldn't handle the pass cleanly, and it trickles all the way back down into the defensive zone of St. Thomas. 13:34 left to go in this third period. Chloe Barine once again driving towards the left side behind the net of Amundsen, going up against the much bigger Lily Zoner, and Zoner with a smart play just lays a body into the boards. And the Eagles take over now. Maddie Noonan through neutral ice, just shoots it on net, and it goes in! Oh my goodness! A mental mistake there from Julia Minotti, and that's the first goal of the season for the Eagles! Call it a half-court heave from Maddie Noonan, and the Eagles are on the board. It's 5-1. You know what they say, put the puck on net and good things happen. Well, that's the definition of that right there. Just a mental lapse from Julia Minotti, who went right through her 5-hole. Shot right there from right about the blue line. And how about that? No shutout in back-to-back games for Minotti. The Eagles get on the board. It's now a 5-1 game. For Maddie Noonan, this is one of the players that Brandon Brown is going to rely upon. Named her a captain earlier this year, the senior out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And he really expected her to have some big offensive production this season. So far, she gets the first goal of the season for these Eagles in a cross-conference matchup. So now St. Thomas looking to answer here in their own defensive end, but a good forecheck there from the Eagles forces the turnover. Trying to take a look at the number there. It was Peyton Tully forced the defensive play, sending it into the slot, but no one there to receive the pass. Eagles will have to collect. Lily Zoner grabs it near her own blue line. Looks like there'll be a delayed penalty. Out of the crease goes Devin Amundsen, and right after scoring their first goal of the season, the Eagles will go up on the woman advantage. We'll see what the official call is on the penalty. It's Nora Sauer going into the box for an interference call. Sauer didn't take any penalties yesterday, so continuing the trend for St. Thomas. They committed 3 penalties yesterday. This will be their 4th today, all by 7 different players. First unit out there for Post University, although they lose the offensive zone faceoff. St. Thomas doing the smart play and just clearing it all the way down the ice, where Karis Kale will pick it up and reset things behind the net of Devin Amundsen. Rose across the ice, intended for Ruby Mitchell, but couldn't quite get the cleanest handle on it, could Mitchell. And now coming the other way are the Tommies. Short-handed, they turn it over, and now Jody Rose has it on her stick once again. Past the blue line she goes with a woman trailing her. Tries to leave it for her teammate. It's Ruby Mitchell. Mitchell on the power play, sends it back towards the blue line for Kale. Kale fires away, an easy save that time, but a good offensive possession for the Eagles as Julia Minotti makes the stop. 1:18 left to go on the penalty assessed to Nora Sauer, and we're going to have a platoon swap here for the Eagles. For Maddie Noonan, by the way, only had 4 points last year, including 2 goals, so 50% of the way to her total from last season, and only her 2nd game. Boy, Chloe Barine, short-handed, one against the world here, trying to stick dangle past a couple of Eagles, but couldn't do so. Good defensive play by Tristan Curry, one of the assistant captains for Post this season, or alternate captains, I should say. Long clearance down the ice with just under a minute to go. A man on for Amundsen. I don't believe she realized it. And Chloe Barine forcing a turnover shorthanded, almost forcing a scoring opportunity for St. Thomas, but instead it's just going to slow down for the Eagles here. Oh, slipping and falling is Emma Hine, turning it over. Ella Housey takes over in the offensive zone. A rare mistake there from the veteran defender for Post, although she is a new face, the transfer from Lindenwood. Lily Zoner drifting through neutral ice. 23 seconds left to go on the woman advantage, but Eagles couldn't quite get set up in the offensive zone this time around, and possibly one last push. Karis Kale racing after it. A little too casual with it. A nice play by Riley Bartz to force the turnover in the offensive end. Bartz looking for a lane to pass it to. It looked like she was shooting for it. Looked like she was going to shoot it for a second, I should say, and then ended up trying the pass, and ultimately just nothing cooking there for St. Thomas. But we're back to even strength between these two teams. Post 0 on the power play today. Now Riley Bartz once again tries to enter the offensive zone. That defense starting to stand up a bit stronger for Post, really, as these two games have gone on. As I say that, Kuhlenkamp tried to get around Amundsen, and Amundsen denies this beautiful shot attempt. Rose once again past the red line. And Post just having a hard time entering the offensive zone, really getting set up with any type of sustained offensive possession. But Riley Patfield trying to change that around. She forces the turnover, enters the offensive end, and battles for it along the near corner. Oh, somebody goes down hard there for the Eagles, looking for a number. It was Jody Rose, but she's back up to her feet. Fighting for the puck, tries to send it to the other side where St. Thomas collects it. Now Kuhlenkamp out of her defensive end. Past the blue line, doesn't have much help, so decides just to stall and waste a little time while St. Thomas is going to go off for a change. Sends it all the way around, and now St. Thomas with some good puck movement here. Finds the stick of Sadie Lindsay. Getting harassed by Riley Patfield, loses possession of it. Callie Peterson trying to take over, leave it for Jody Rose. Rose couldn't quite handle it cleanly. Lindemann sends it into the slot, nobody there. And finally, Post able to get it out of their defensive end. Under 10 left to go in this third period. The first goal of the season coming off the stick of Maddie Noonan as the net became dislodged. And that's going to take us to our first media timeout. It's 5-1, St. Thomas on top. Here as you're watching Post University Women's Hockey. Five to 1, St. Thomas on top as the neutralized faceoff goes the Tommies' way for this final stretch of hockey during opening weekend. St. Thomas looking to close out what should be a road sweep for them, but Post with a little bit of momentum as of late. The long goal from Maddie Noonan. Here comes Ilsa Lindemann into the offensive zone. Here's a rebound chance and a beautiful sliding save from Devin Amundsen. Tries the wraparound shot, does Madison Brown. Couldn't quite reach the net. Believe it hit the side of it. And Amundsen looking strong here today in replacement of Hannah Saunders, as well as in the third period yesterday. Did give up 5 goals, but again, not many of them you could blame on her. Brown going into the slot, takes the shot, and once again, Amundsen says no. Lindemann trying the same type of play, gives it off to Lindsay. And right now, St. Thomas just circling the puck around the back of the net of Amundsen, trying to hold on to possession in the offensive zone. Battle for it between Hyatt and Brown. Brown trying to out-physical Hyatt, the true freshman. And Brown does win the battle, but Hyatt held her own there. Lindemann takes a tough angled shot. The puck is loose out in front of the net. Amundsen was forced to make a save. The rebound chance, and Amundsen does it again. Boy, Amundsen with a couple of strong saves late in this third period as Lindemann somehow keeps the puck in the offensive zone for St. Thomas. Off to Brown. Madison Brown misses the net, deflects up and over the boards into the netting, so we'll have a stoppage here. 7:45 left to go in this third. Once again for Devin Amundsen, the sophomore out of Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. Only got 4 appearances last year. This already her second of this season in as many games, and she's looked pretty good. Mikavakis, after the block shot, takes over, tries to chip it around a St. Thomas defender and will chase after it herself. Puck is loose over on the far end where Kaylin Mumm tries to send it in, tries to send it to neutral ice. A good defensive play that time, trying to look for a number, but instead it's St. Thomas coming into the offensive zone. Maxwell takes the shot, but is blocked by the other number 24. That's Emma Hine for Post. Pass into the slot, good defensive stick. Trying to take a look at number that. It was Alexia Tutino forcing the interception, and it looks like we're going to have another penalty here. I believe it's Peyton Tully who's down on the ice hard. Tully unable to get to her feet, looking like she's crawling towards the bench, and finally she is able to get to her feet, but not putting any pressure on one of her legs. Again, looked at by the athletic trainer in her first season, Alex Hartzell. You hope that Peyton Tully, who has been impressive in these first 2 games, playing on the top line tonight as a starter, as a true freshman, hope that she's all right. Made her way to the bench pretty gingerly there. So Post with the offensive zone faceoff and the power play opportunity, and the first shot of this opportunity is gobbled up by Julia Minotti. The penalty assessed to Kara Sajovic. And for Post so far today, well, they're 0 for 4 on their power play attempts. And the clearance attempt that time looked like it was just kept in the offensive zone, but only temporarily. Curry had to reset things for the Eagles, and she'll try to bring it back in. Stuffed at the blue line was Curry. St. Thomas takes over. Decides just to clear it all the way down the ice, the smart play, and waste some more time. But rather than that, it's actually going to be Chloe Bereen once again making a play with her speed and just forcing some time to go off this power play here in this third period by holding the puck up against the wall. You can see Emma Hine, Tristan Curry, and Lily Zoner all trying to get her off of the puck and just can't do so. Finally, Zoner does take it away. Hine to Mikavakis along the near side, finds Noonan, and Noonan just content to dump it in deep, send it around the boards, and Tristan Curry will chase after it. Curry loses the race that time. Believe it was to Janessa Gostic. Actually, it was Ella Housey. Either way, the puck exits the offensive zone, and we're down to below a minute here on the power play for Post. Trying to prevent themselves from going 0 for 5 on the power play today. And 0 for 9 to start off their season. Rose left it for Mitchell on the near boards, and Mitchell just decided to send it all the way around. It's Georgia Stevens on the far end, trying to battle against Ella Housey. Stevens tries the bang pass, 25 seconds left to go on the power play. Puck gets deflected up into the ceiling, but it doesn't actually hit anything, so it comes back down and we'll play on. Lindsay with the puck on her stick, a cross-ice pass for Housey. Into the offensive zone goes St. Thomas, and Bartz, short-handed, goes around the net, one against the world. The definition of it finds her teammate Kuhlekamp, and that shot gets blocked. Nice defensive prowess there from Jody Rose. As she has it on her stick now, passes the blue line. One last push for Post on the power play as she takes the shot, and we're back to even strength. Kuhlekamp tries the bank pass, but gets cut off. Nice defensive play from Karis Kale, one of the veterans on this Post roster. Under 5 minutes to go here in this third period in what has been a dominant St. Thomas Road season opener series. Brown tries the shot, saved by Amundsen. Looked like Brown had some help, but elected to take it herself that time. I think it was the smart decision, but Amundsen in good position. Kuhlekamp dances around Anna Bernaire. Still with the puck on her stick, now sends it back to the blue line for Janessa Gostic to Courtney Little. Little tries the shot, gets blocked. That was Paige Piper getting in the way of that one. Now Piper tries to intercept the pass herself. Gets it out of the defensive zone at the very least, and Kai Hyatt has it on her stick. Hyatt past the blue line into the offensive zone. Post, good job with the change there. Almost too many women on the ice, but able to get off at the last moment and now trying to re-enter the offensive end of things. Shoots it back behind the net, do the Eagles. Trying to play a little dump in and forecheck game. But drifting through neutralize instead, it's Ella Berger. Berger almost was able to get around Karis Kale, but Kale poke-checked it away. Still, Berger has it back on her stick. A beautiful pass for Bereen. Bereen shoots it a couple of times, and it's saved by Amundsen yet again. Boy, Devin Amundsen hasn't allowed a goal here in the third, but she's been tested a number of times, and she stood strong here. For Chloe Bereen, too. She also has 2 goals in this game and was looking for the hat trick there. Both Bereen and Bartz with 2 goals for St. Thomas, but neither one able to get that elusive third yet. Berger battling up against Tutino. In the far corner behind Devin Amundsen. I believe it was Berger who fell down to the ice pretty hard, was able to get the puck back out towards the blue line. Maxwell just able to keep it in. Berger once again. Oh, good defensive play by Timmerie Grom. Berger still tried to get the shot off. It got blocked, and that was Totino getting in the way of it. Karis Kale sends it along farther up the ice. Hand gets raised for an icing, and icing will be called. Good race for the puck there, and I believe it was Ella Berger who ended up winning it. So the same 5 and a tired 5 at that are going to have to stay out there for Post. Of course, for Post University next week, they hit the road and they take on RIT in a 2-game set over the weekend. It really doesn't get much easier for the Eagles. It's another really tough litmus test for them. As a quick shot off the draw, Ilsa Lindemann tried her luck there, but just missed. Now Kira Parker sends it in deep. And St. Thomas once again doing a good job of circling the puck in their offensive zone. Juliana Gosdick for Skugman. Back to Juliana. Sends it into the crease, and it just goes wide of the net. Looked like it was intended as a pass, but almost ended up as a shot. Lindemann instead for Parker. Parker driving towards the net. The backhanded try, shouldered away by Amundsen. Puck loose out in front. Another chance, the slap shot from Skoogman. The deflection, and they score! St. Thomas tallies their 6th goal of the game. It's Josie Skoogman leading the line. Josie Skoogman collects her first points of the season. And all of a sudden, it's 6-1 in favor of the Tommies. You were wondering just how long Devin Amundsen could stand on her head here in the third period. She made a couple of tremendous saves here in the third. It's another one of those goals where you really say, I don't know how much she could have done. She made 1 save, 2 saves, 3, but eventually one of those rebound opportunities is just going to go in. So the neutralized faceoff does go the Eagles' way. They send it deep into the offensive zone to chase after it. And St. Thomas takes over. Callie Rice on neutralized, goes to retrieve the puck. And Josie Skoogman, the recent goal scorer, sends the pass far up the ice, but maybe a little bit ill-advised as the Eagles take over with a little over 2 minutes left to go in this game 2. You knew heading into the series for Post University, whenever you're going up against a WCHA opponent, it is never going to be easy. It doesn't matter if it's the Wisconsin, Ohio States, or the St. Thomas, Bemidji States of the world. Any WCHA team is a good one, and St. Thomas coming in and proving that this weekend, scoring at least 6 goals in both of their games. Still looking for their 7th today. It's Ella Housey sending it around the boards. Kuhlenkamp in there to collect, gets bodied hard. That was the true freshman once again making an impact, Lily Zoner. Zoner picks it up herself right now, trying to get it out of the defensive zone. The forecheck once again for St. Thomas, just hard to get by. Finally, the Eagles send it in deep, get a fresh 5 out there. And Janessa Gosdick tries the cross-eyes pass. So it'll be interesting to see what type of changes Brandon Brown makes. As there's a good opportunity for the Eagles, a trickling shot. Somehow Julia Minotti was able to make the tough save with under a minute left in this game. With a head of steam once again, Chloe Barine tried it into the slot, intended for Berger, but it was Tallulah Cameron getting her stick on it instead. Long pass, gets blocked by a couple of bodies out in front. Who ends up with possession? It's Ella Berger, finds Barine once again. 35 seconds left to go in this game. Whitney Horton dancing around on the near corners. St. Thomas looking to add on and score 7 goals in 2 games in a row here with this final push here in this third period. Barine, that pass gets intercepted by Selena Mikavicus. Back in neutralized it goes. St. Thomas content just to dump it in deep. Less than 15 to go in the game. Barine with one possible final shot on net. A little bit of a misplay there, but Amundsen made the save nevertheless. The Eagles just going to shoot it down the ice. And how about St. Thomas coming in to Shelton, Connecticut, and sweeping the Eagles 7-0 yesterday and 6-1 today here in Game 2. Although Julia Minotti didn't get the shutout here today, what another tremendous game for the netminder for St. Thomas, as well as a couple of goals from Riley Bartz, Chloe Barine, Josie Skoogman picking up that last tally, as well as Sadie Lindsay. 6 goals by 4 different players today for St. Thomas. They combined for 13 over their 2 games. And, man, for a team that just didn't have a whole lot of offensive prowess last year throughout WCHA play, they have really impressed here in the first 2 games in Shelton against a tough Newhaw opponent in Post University. So that's going to do it for us here at Post and here in this 2-game set. We thank you so much for joining us once again. Post will go on to play RIT on the road next week, and another tough test for them. But for Jared Michaels, Kristen Bound, and our entire Post University graduate assistant staff, I'm Max Stapleton saying thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in a few weeks.